It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Welcome in. Good morning. Happy to be with you as always. It is Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff Parles.
And I'm Alex White. We have a packed show for you today. A lot to get to. 3 different sports and a very special guest.
Well, yeah. That last part you'll find out about along with everything we get to. Sean, you can swoosh it. Go for it.
There we go.
Right out of the gate. Let's just go to it. Starting 5 right out of the start of the show. Let's begin with number 1, the Kansas City Royals. How about that? 10 games behind in June. That lead for Cleveland over Kansas City is all gone. Royals and Guardians all square entering the 4th of 4 in Cleveland this afternoon. The Royals look for that 4-game sweep, but it's been all about Cleveland in the betting markets from minus 125 to minus 145 on Tanner Beebe and the Cleveland Guardians this afternoon. Total of 8 on that one.
We'll give our thoughts on that game. I do think that's a little bit of an overreaction here for the Guardians to try to avoid that sweep. Number 2, Mets take game 1, 8-3 over Arizona. Still 3 games back from the wild card spot. They'll send Luis Severino to the mound against Eduardo Rodriguez, who has done well in the few innings that he has pitched. Arizona minus 120. Total has been bumped up from 8.5 to 9. Trend for you, Diamondbacks, 26-8 since the All-Star game.
Did lose last night, as you mentioned. Mets. You had the Mets line Sean Manaea last night as the Mets win 8-3 and gain no ground in the National League wildcard race because the Braves just keep on winning. Number 3, we go to Philadelphia. Maybe the month of August is turning around for the Phillies. Maybe they'll look good in September yet again. Taijuan Walker goes today for the Phils as they look to sweep Houston. But it's been about Houston in the betting markets. They're now favored in this one, minus 110. Phillies, of course, going for the sweep. Well in command in that NL East race.
Don't want to speak too soon, but I am with you, Jeff. I do think the Phillies have turned a page, which we have seen numerous teams do throughout this season. Number 4, 5 games in the W today. First game on the board, Caitlin Clark. The Fever are trying to avoid the season sweep against the Connecticut Sun. Carrington has been very good playing defense against Caitlin Clark, so we'll see what happens. Connecticut opened 2.5-point favorite at some spots, then opened 3.5 at others. Now the Sun are a 4-point favorite. Total in this one, 163.5 has actually been bet down.
Of course, Clark made her debut against these Connecticut Sun in Mohegan's
did.
Sun, and that was a big turnover game. But Indiana a little bit better, just a little bit better, Alex White, than they were at the beginning of the season, well in command of a playoff spot in the WNBA. And then number 5, you know him if you're here in Vegas. You hear him on ESPN Las Vegas from 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, and you'll hear him with us in about 10 minutes from now. Steve Cofield will join us. We'll get his thoughts on the NFL season ahead, college football. UNLV is a big one in Houston that's actually been attracting bettors as well. It's very, Alex, for since you've been around UNLV for in basically your entire life, of course, you're a graduate of there. How different is it this year going into a football season where there's actual positive expectations for this Rebel team?
It's a little terrifying, honestly. I think last year might have been a better spot knowing that they did land a really good coach in Barry Odom, having high hopes, and then them really, meeting those expectations in year 1, which was not expected at all of them. But yeah, it's exciting. It definitely is. And now they have a beautiful field to play at, so that helps a lot as well.
Allegiant Stadium, just a little bit better than Sam Boyd. Yeah, that's the biggest upgrade in the country, to say the very least, over there. All right, let's look at some baseball, though, before we get to Cofield at quarter past. Alex, I want to start in Pittsburgh real quick. Sorry about that. Paul Skenes, Kyle Hendricks. It's minus 165 on the Buccos. It's only moved 5 cents from the open. I will say this. We're at a point now where with Skenes, we're probably looking at maybe with the Pirates falling out of this 2, maybe 3 more starts. Probably 3 more starts for Skenes at this rate. And one interesting thing happened in this market today. Forget the side. The total's gone up a whole run. Went from 7.5 to 8.5, Alex. And I just wonder if bettors now are more willing to attack totals in these scheme games because they think that the Pirates are going to be less willing to let Skenes go deeper into games, and the Pirates bullpen since the collapse that started right around the All-Star break, their bullpen has been brutal over the last 6 weeks.
It really has. And then if you look at the Chicago Cubs team, I mean, they are just hitting the ball. 188 WRC plus in their last 3 games. So it's been impressive. Kind of leaned to the under in the first 2 games of this series. And then we saw what happened. Both flew over. So I understand why bettors would bet the full game over. But if I was to bet this, I would still look at that first 5 under here with Skenes on the mound for them. But you're right. You have to be aware. He is on a pitch count. We know that. We just don't know what it is and how many starts we'll see from him.
The Cubs have gotten back over 500 and playing better. 5 out of a playoff spot, make it 5.5, I should say, entering today's action. A lot of room, few teams to hop, not a lot of time, but the Cubs at least have stabilized a little bit over the last few weeks.
It's funny, though. Chicago fans, they've already put those jerseys away.
Well, Ryan already
and
has.
They've already got their Bears out. So I don't think they're going to they have too much faith in them really making a push here still.
Yeah, I don't think it will be either. But Alex will tell everyone why Ryan has that jersey a little bit later in the show, because we have a fun thing that we're doing on Punchlines this afternoon right here at the South Point studio. Speaking of another team, the Cardinals had their lowest attendance in the new Busch Stadium yesterday, ever, period. That would be Busch Stadium 3. Today, Andre Pallante against Joe Musgrove of San Diego, minus 119 on the Padres, plus 109 on the Cardinals. Alex, I've thought the Padres have been priced wrong in this series the whole way through. Yesterday, Cardinals got out to a lead and just couldn't put the Padres away. A 7-5 win for San Diego. I think this is another one. I know that you have to build it in a little bit with the team trying to avoid the sweep, especially at home, but Musgrove only $1.19 against Pallante feels a little bit short again on San Diego. Or, yeah, a little good price on San Diego.
It is funny. So I've been asking my dad, Kenny White, professional sports bettor, for the last few weeks why the Padres' offensive number was so low. So he finally readjusted and went just the last 60 days. That bumps the Padres up to minus 145 here with his line, and then adding 20 cents in. So I do think with that factor of the Cardinals trying to avoid a sweep, it is pretty much the correct number that the bookmakers put out there. But again, I said it to you yesterday. I can't fault you if you want to keep backing the Padres here and this run that they are on, just like the Diamondbacks that we were talking about.
Arizona, San Diego tied for that first wild card in the National League entering today's action. Moving along here, we'll actually we'll go to the Giants and the Brewers next. Just want to touch on this because it's a low total of 7 and now 8. There is 7.5 in the market still on these two teams, Peralta and Harrison. Alex, I would only lean to betting the under at 8. Now that we've reached 8, last night you ended up with a 5-4 game, so obviously slightly over. Giants win that one, but this would be a lean to the 8. Again, I like Harrison against his Brewers lineup. And Freddie Peralta, I still think, is one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball this year.
I'm with you. Especially, I mean, if you look at his average at home, going 5 2/3 innings by average, giving up just 3 earned runs, just 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. So, I mean, it's really been a lot about the Brewers here. I think he'll have a good outing. Harrison, I'm not quite as high on, Jeff, but I do have this game 7. So, if you can find an 8, I mean, that's some value, some edge there going under that 8.
Behind us is one of the lone 8s, Alex. It's a lot of 7.5 in the market, especially the sharper books here in town. This is the sharpest book with an 8 up there right now behind us here at the South Point. Let's go to a game that you have some action on here, Alex. And that is in Arizona. The Mets take the first of 3 in Phoenix against the Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez and Luis Severino go today for the respective squads. Total's been bet up from 8.5 to 9, and the Mets have taken the little action here, minus 120 on Arizona after they opened to minus 125.
Rodriguez, slight edge over Severino, but I think that plus money is great value here with the Mets, who have been a little bit inconsistent, starting to figure some things out. Really impressive win yesterday, so I'm going to go back with them here. More of a play on the number and getting that plus money with this Mets team. This is a great series between these two, right? Both trying to hang in there and make that push for those wild card spots.
Mets trying to stay in it. 3 games behind Atlanta entering tonight's action. Braves have gotten hot yet again. Again, the Twins. Whenever you think the Twins have really taken that leap to being the true contender as opposed to just this regular playoff team that's not going to do anything, they do what they've done the last week.
I said they lost 6 of their last 8 yesterday. Now we can make that 7.
Yeah, 7
last
and
9. Yep.
Speaking of other American League Central teams, real quick, Alex White, the game we mentioned in the starting 5, Cleveland and Kansas City. This has been aggressive to the homestanding Guardians. Their 10-game lead on Kansas City from June is now all the way gone. The Royals have made it all up. Kansas City looking to become the first team ever to lose 100 games the previous season and then win the division the following year. And they have a shot to do it, tied with Cleveland. They send Michael Wacha to the mound here today to try to take their first lead in the division all year. BB will go for Cleveland. 20-cent move in this game from -125 to -145 on the Guards, Alex.
And as we talked about in the opening, I think that is aggressive here. And I've learned from my dad to give the team that's trying to avoid the sweep 25 cents. But on the flip side, when you start to have these teams that are getting hot, you have to add in 5 cents for every game that they win. You don't want to start that streak too early, about 3 or 4 games. Then that is actually a winning streak. So that kind of cancels each other out here for the Royals and the Guardians. I think Michael Wacha is just as good, slightly below BB, but not by much at all. And he actually goes further in the games. Now, on the flip side, you have to remember the Guardians bullpen is the top bullpen in the league, especially by ERA standards. So I like this offense. I like how the Royals are playing 120 WRC plus in their last 3 games. I think it is worth a little flyer here on that plus 135. Again, we're betting pretty light right now. End of baseball season. A lot can happen. And we've got college football tomorrow to look ahead to. So small plays here, but I do like that plus 135 with the Royals.
I do want to bring up the Astros and the Phillies real quick. By the way, no play for me on that game. I'm just concerned that there is a slight pitching advantage to Cleveland, at least the starting thing, but the Royals are playing so much better and the Guardians just going in the wrong direction. They'll still make the playoffs, but the division, I don't think they're winning the division anymore. I'm not sure if Kansas City will be the one that fully catches them, but they'll have the best opportunity as of right now. Phillies and Astros in Philadelphia. The Phils have taken the first 2 of this series, and they're a small home dog here today. Alex, I think the wrong team is favored in this game. Walker has been a mixed bag, to put it politely, this year. Eric Getty's coming off an incredible start, his best start of the season, a complete game. But I'm in the camp that the wrong team is favored in this game. I really do think that Philadelphia should be a small favorite as opposed to the way the bettors have taken this.
I'm with you. I do have Philadelphia minus 105 here, so pretty much a pick, but with the home team getting the advantage here. I have nothing in this one, Jeff. I mean, if Astros avoiding the sweep, if you were getting that plus money like some bettors did, I do understand that move. But now that you have to lay a short price with Houston, nothing for me in this one.
The Astros still in first place in the AL West. Seattle is at least, again, trying to make this interesting. Still only a 3.5 game lead for Houston, but not like Seattle has taken advantage at all of the Astros losing these 2 games. Let's go to Minnesota next. Sale and Festa, your pitching matchup for the Braves and the Twins. Alex, I'm a little surprised by this price as well. Minus 142 open on Atlanta. I thought that was good. Bettors have taken all of Minnesota here down to minus 125. I understand the anti-sweep angle here, but it's Atlanta's best pitcher on the mound against Minnesota's worst starter. It's a really bad mix here.
I think it's a little too aggressive again, just like the other one here. I think the Braves should still be about minus 145 at least, even adding in that avoiding the sweep sense there. So Chris Sale, best pitcher going today besides Paul Skenes. They're like right there. If you look at Sale even on the road, though, I mean, average 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, just 1 walk and 2 earned runs. So Yeah, I like the Braves here tonight, even if that Twins are trying to avoid the sweep.
And then we get the Battle of the Bees in L.A. Burns and Buehler, the pitching matchup for the Orioles and the Dodgers. Orioles actually take game 1 last night in L.A. Alex, the total's been the mover in this game. It's opened 8.5 minus 115. It's back to 8.5 minus 120 on the over, but been a lot of juice movement, even touched 9 on that total. The side hasn't budged behind us with the Dodgers as a small favorite with Walker Buehler going tonight.
I think that number is just right. And I think that 8.5 is too. I don't really understand the over, besides maybe checking the temperature. Unders have been a little bit harder to come by now that it is pretty hot. But both these teams have struggled offensively. Orioles 64 WRC plus in the last 3, and the Dodgers 93 WRC plus. So both do factor for their offenses. I mean, that could be part of the reason people are betting this over, but I think both numbers are correct here.
Dodgers, again, 3 games clear of both San Diego and Diamondbacks in the National League West. The Orioles were able to pick up a game yesterday on the Yankees because Patrick Corbin shut the Yankees down yesterday.
I was hoping you brought that up.
Look, baseball's a weird sport, but sometimes you get bonko things like that with Patrick Corbin throwing 6 shutout innings against arguably the best offense in baseball. It's baseball. Weird things. 1 game lead for the Yankees in the American League East. All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, you hear him on Las Vegas Radio, ESPN Las Vegas. Steve Cofield will join us next here on Sports by the Book.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White, as you see on the. By the way, we're matching again. Second consecutive day. This was not planned. This was not coordinated. Don't tell me what color you're going to wear tomorrow, because maybe we'll accidentally do it again.
Yeah, well, we don't have a guess, so we won't base it off of that. I was going a little bit trying to do Rebel Red for Steve joining us today.
I might have done it subconsciously more so than anything. And now Alex just mentioned him. We'll bring him in. The host of Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas. You hear him Monday through Friday from 3 to 6. Steve Cofield with us right now. Steve, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, of course. What's going on, guys?
It's great to have you. We're in the football mode, my friend, and we know it's a crazy time of year. And at least just to keep this hyper local at first here, this is the first season in a very long time where UNLV has had expectations going into a football season. Week 1, they get a great test in Houston. And, Steve, the bettors have actually backed UNLV in this game. It opened behind us, Houston 3. Now it's down to Houston as a 2-point favorite. There are some question marks on who's going to play quarterback for the Rebels. But Steve, what are your thoughts going into the year for the Rebs? And what are your thoughts this week for Week 1?
Yeah, so it is the most hyped season we've seen in probably forever, since the early 80s. And I wasn't here in the early 80s, but in my time in Vegas, I mean, most years you were hoping that upside for UNLV football would be 6 wins and a bowl berth. And, you know, in the program, around the program after 9 wins a year ago. And remember, they got out to a 9-2 start, made the Mountain West Conference championship game. They sputtered a bit down the stretch, but they did make a bowl game for the first time in about 10 years. So expectations are through the roof. The win total's higher than I can ever remember it being. In the program, they expect to win a championship. They expect to go to the next step in the Mountain West Conference and actually get it done in the championship game. So, yeah, they're hoping, you know, and I guess I wouldn't call it a long shot, but the highest hope is to make the college football playoff, which is wonderful for Group of 5 teams, because we think if you get the job done in the Mountain West Conference, you have a pretty good chance to get that potential 12th spot in the college football playoff, depending on what happens with programs like App State and Liberty. So, yeah, everyone's very excited. They brought in a really good transfer class, and the quarterback position's pretty interesting. We'll see who they roll out on the field and if 2 or 3 quarterbacks play on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm curious with your thoughts on that. We know Barry Odom has done a great job, and he kept a lot of players, but not that quarterback that we saw last year. What are you hearing, and do you think we will see multiple quarterbacks this first game?
I think we will see multiple. I don't think it'll be 3, although right now they're going with a 3-headed monster on the depth chart with the Haj Malik Williams or Matthew Sluka or Cam Friel. I don't think that's actually, I have the depth chart right here. I don't think that's the way they wrote it out, but that's the way I'm thinking, that Haj Malik is actually going to start. Sluka will come in relief, and then if they need a third quarterback, then maybe Cam Friel plays. But, yeah, I don't think it's a weakness, and I don't think they're undecided to the point where they're like, hey, neither one of these guys is a good quarterback, or whatever that old idiom is, that if you have multiple quarterbacks and you don't really have a starting quarterback. I don't think that's it, but you get my point. I think Haj Malik is a little more experienced in terms of being in the program. I know he is because he was here in the spring. Sluka is more explosive. Haj Malik Williams came from Campbell. Sluka was at Holy Cross, where his running numbers were incredible. And I think that's one of the things when they lost Jade Mayava in the portal to first Georgia and then eventually settling at USC. I think there's some things in their go-go offense that Brennan Marion, the OC, put together where they want some run elements, whether it's run straight from the backfield by the quarterback or a lot of edge play with some option work. So both of these guys can do it. So I think both guys will get some time, and then we'll see who has the hot hand, and we'll see where they are in the game in the second half, and then I guess they'll decide who to go with from there. But I don't think it's a weakness. I actually think they've got 2 quarterbacks that they really like and can really run the system they want to run.
Steve, just to look at the conference as a whole, because you mentioned, hey, look, the ultimate dream is a college football playoff berth, which the champion of the Mountain West is going to have a really good claim to it. Just how big do you think the gap right now is from Boise State to UNLV right now? We saw it a year ago, even in a down year for Boise, with Boise still managing to win the Mountain West.
I don't think it's that big. I think UNLV had some really good moments in that game, but they got a little out-schemed. They were a little beat up going into that game, especially at the safety positions, and they got beat up top a bunch. They moved one of the safeties to nickel, where it can be more of a thumper. That's Jonathan Baldwin. Jeray Williams transferred to Washington State, but I think he got a nudge. The time is up. We're going to bring in other people. So they brought in some more safety options. They wanted to get more speed on the back end so that teams like Boise couldn't go over the top. But the biggest thing is run defense against Boise State, because Ashton Genty, I think, is a top 5 running back in the country. He's amazing. And in that Mountain West Conference championship game last year, they felt so confident about whipping the ball around the yard that they actually kind of saved Genty for the second quarter on. And then as he got momentum, he just started to crush them. So the gap is closed a bit. Listen, I thought that Spencer Danielson did a really good job coaching in that game against UNLV. So I think he's going to be a good coach. But keep in mind, this is his first full year. So, you can argue, have they improved that coach? Yeah, because the last guy was I don't know. He just personality-wise, a weird guy, ran this controlling program. Andy Avalos was the last coach. So I think from a coaching standpoint, maybe a slight uptick, but there's going to be some bumps in the road for Spencer Danielson. And the other problem with the Mountain West Conference, and I've said this all summer, is in terms of getting that 12th spot, the Mountain West Conference is going to be a bloodbath. There's going to be some losses in this conference. And keep in mind, the other thing is that they mixed in Washington State and Oregon State. And while I don't think either one of those programs or teams is a world beater, Oregon State especially is going through a lot of changes, but that's another quality game or two. And in the case of Boise State, their schedule's loaded. Mm-hmm. So the way I see the Mountain West, and I'm not talking necessarily about the champion of the Mountain West, but whoever is the top team in the regular season might have 2 or 3 losses. And I don't know how that selection committee is going to look at Mountain West, a team with 2 or 3 losses against maybe a potential unbeaten Liberty with no one on their schedule, right? I think they play App State, so there's going to be that crossover. But I wonder how much strength of schedule is going to matter. So the Mountain West could be in a position where they have an outstanding team or two, but because of their non-con and a good conference, a deep conference in terms of schedule, they may not get through the season unscathed.
It does make this expanded playoffs very interesting, especially looking ahead in this first year. Last week we had a pretty competitive week 0. I'm excited about week 1 coming up here. Do you have any bets that you have made yet, or is there one game that really jumps out to you that you're looking forward to watching?
So I've been talking about betting North Dakota State against Colorado, and that's probably a popular pick, and it's not an anti-Dion thing. Well, it kind of is. I don't think he's really building a program there. I don't think he's setting his kids up for success. I think his son is already showing signs of sort of, blame the other guys. I don't know if that's great leadership. They talked a lot of trash about guys who left. So I just don't – the mood around the program they may project excitement, but Dion is also projecting nervousness, by attacking media people. And frankly, on the football field, I don't trust that they've built any more depth. They brought in, another 40-plus new players, which that's okay. This Houston UNLV game this weekend, I think Houston has 60 new players. Believe it or not, UNLV off a 9-win season has like 50 new players, but it's the way you build. I just don't think that Colorado has great depth, and they run into a really tough team here. North Dakota State lost its coach to USC, but there's a pride there. They actually looked at last year's semifinal berth in the FCS playoffs, and 11 wins is sort of a failure. They have good experience back at quarterback, and I just think the spread is too big. And I also don't believe the Colorado defense can be able to stop anyone. So even if Colorado get out to a good lead, I think North Dakota State can get back in the game and get inside that 9.5 or 10. And I'll give you one other game. I'd be a little nervous if I was Michigan State against Florida Atlantic. Michigan State is in a very big rebuild. They have Aiden Childs, who followed Johnny Smith from Oregon State, but I'm going to take the points in the Florida Atlantic game as well. But this week 1 card is, it's insane. Anyone out there who there are downsides to, the realignment and traditions getting busted up, like the Pac-12 breaking up. But my God, every week there's great games and important games early in the season.
Steve, you mentioned it. This week, the game that's here in Vegas, LSU and USC is not even the best game on the board. In normal circumstances, it would be like, oh my goodness, we're getting 2 of the best teams. It's probably like the 5th best game on the board. And I'm just curious your thoughts on this game since it's here. Of course, new era at USC with Miller Moss taking over at quarterback. New era at LSU with Nussmeier taking over at quarterback. LSU right now is a 4.5-point favorite, and shockingly enough, that total 64.5, knowing those 2 defenses from a year ago.
Well, one, I think USC's defense is going to be better. They brought over the DC from UCLA. They've got better personnel. I think they mine the transfer portal a little better than they did 2 years ago, and they have some experience back. I think USC is going to be a player in the Big Ten. I don't think they're going to go in there and be, little sisters of the poor or weak in the trenches. That said, it's week 1. Miller Moss doesn't have a lot of playing experience. I think LSU comes into Vegas and handles them pretty good. And then we'll hear the narrative that USC is a fraud and the season is over, just like we heard last week with Florida State. Folks, it's a new era. That's the whole point of the playoffs. The nonsense of, losing one early and then having to kill it down the stretch. Yeah, you're going to have to win a lot of games the rest of the way, but the season's not over. So I think LSU is probably ahead of USC right now and being ready for the season. But, USC will lose this one, won't cover. But SC is going to be a good team as the year moves along.
We're going to switch it over to the NFL. And for anybody who does listen to you, 3 to 6 p.m. here in Las Vegas, they know that you were going back and forth with the NFL Sunday ticket. I just need to know first, have you purchased it?
No, the protest is still on.
Okay.
What's the rush now? There's no discount, right? Although, who knows? They may pull another fast one on all of us and then raise the price by another $50. Yeah, that whole thing irks me. I got to watch NFL football. So if Jeff hasn't listened or heard the whole take, it it kills me that a judge said basically we were getting hosed for the last 10 years by, the NFL and Sunday Ticket, says the NFL's got to pay out $14 billion for damages, and then another judge reverses it. And not only did the NFL basically not even throw out an olive branch to us, the fans, they're like, okay, we're actually going to raise the price. I don't know if you guys saw the price for Apple users.
Yeah,
it's
like insane.
$700 for the season. It's crazy. Listen, they're arrogant, man. They know we have to watch it, so I'll probably watch it. Because my other option, Jeff, is to go out every week, go to local bars. Because I don't mind doing that because they have to pay for it, so you're giving money back to them. But, as I've told Alex, I wound up spending a lot of money on Sunday, so I can either go for like $400 for the season and watch a lot of the games at home, or spend like $2,000 for the season. So we'll see what happens. I might break. I'm getting a lot of pressure at home. To get the ticket.
Well, I don't know why I didn't bring this up before, but you and the significant other are invited here at the South Point.
You beat me to it.
We have plenty of screens here in the studio, or we know that they do have the best prices out here. I mean, have you had the $1.50 hot dog?
Of course. Yes. We did shows years ago with Lotus Broadcasting at the South Point. We used to host Monday Night Football in their showroom. So I'm a value player, so I'm very familiar with the $1.50 hot dogs. And I'm a hot dog guy.
Let's dive into the Las Vegas Raiders. A lot happened within the last few days. Of course, we are seeing the final cuts, and then teams start to make some moves. Any thoughts for you with them? I noticed that they only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster as of right now. Anything else jump out to you for the Las Vegas Raiders?
Not really in terms of the cuts. The biggest thing to me is if they can, protect Minshew, if he can get off to a good start, not lose confidence. Let's not have a juggling quarterback situation. I mentioned UNLV with 2 quarterbacks. That's kind of a good thing because they give different looks, but I don't know that having Aiden O'Connell on the field is a good thing. He kind of limits the offense in terms of taking deep shots. And I'll guarantee you, if Devontae Adams was complaining last year and annoyed, in the program or in the organization, he's going to get quickly annoyed if they have rotating quarterbacks, and one of them is Aiden O'Connell, who can't and won't push the ball. He can, but won't push the ball down the field, more than 20 yards. None of us like the quarterback situation. I think Minshew has the best upside. I mean, damn, it's a shame, too, because they have weapons. If Bowers is ready to go, that's getting a little nerve-wracking, too, with his foot injury. But they have weapons. I think Zamir White will be pretty good. I think the defense has a chance to be pretty good. But they're going to have to play so many games so close to the vest. I don't know. Maybe you guys are more optimistic than I am. I don't think I can bet the win total over. I'm not feeling real confident about that right now. And also, it seems to be, even with a new coach and a new GM, there seems to be sort of organizational maybe not dysfunction, but like, what are the goals? And at what point in the season are they like, hey, we got to turn the page again and start looking ahead, which is a confusing deal as you're trying to play win totals for a team. What is their ultimate goal? I guess early it's make the playoffs, but if they get off to a lousy start and they're 7 games in, then what's everyone thinking?
No, Steve, I'm in the camp that this is not going to go well, even with that defense that, look, you add Wilkins in the offseason to fortify the middle of the D-line. Crosby, we know he's one of the 4 best pass rushers in the NFL, but you mentioned it. I mean, I'm just concerned that this is going to turn into a roller coaster ride of changing quarterbacks a little too quickly, and then you end up in a scenario where you don't know which guy is which, and there's no confidence at that quarterback position.
And as I said, is there going to be dysfunction within the team? I mean, Devontae Adams, we saw him on receiver. We've seen him, complaining in the past, and it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He's just frustrated. He came here thinking the organization was one thing. It's just not. It hasn't been harmonious. Josh McDaniel was a terrible hire. So I think some of that frustration is still lingering. And if they're not playing well, does everyone stay together? That's the question, midway through the season. Is there cohesion where everyone's going for the same thing, or they start turning on each other?
Steve, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I am also a long-suffering Jet fan along with you. Is this the year finally where, and forget winning the Super Bowl or anything crazy like that, is this the year we can actually see that team make a playoff game for the first time since I was in high school?
Scares me to say it, but yes, I think they can deliver on some hopes. Super Bowl, championship, I'm not sure about that, but can they make the playoffs? I think they can. Can I tell you one of the things I'm most excited about is I like Aaron Rodgers being there. I think he makes a gigantic difference. He will lead them to wins, but unlike last year, if he goes down, this is one of the more ridiculous takes you're going to hear, but I'm actually happy that they have Tyrod Taylor.
I agree.
Because last year was a frustrating lost season because they had so many close games, and all they needed to do was complete some passes here and there, have a guy to run the offense and not kill it at times. Zach Wilson was terrible. He was absolutely awful. So I think Tyrod Taylor at least is representative. He can be decent at the position. So, for a season handicap to rely on my analysis of Tyrod Taylor is kind of silly. But, I think the Jets, they've got elite talent at wide receiver. They've got elite talent certainly at running back. We know their defense is very good. I don't think the AFC East is going to be it's certainly not going to be as good as it's been in the past. And I think the Bills are in a little backslide, and we'll see what the Dolphins do. The Dolphins, again, they're very beat up on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if you watch Hard Knocks last year, it was so heartbreaking to see multiple defenders go down. But the reality is those guys aren't back. So, and as you mentioned earlier, they lost probably their best defensive player to the Raiders. So I think, it's a 3-team division, and the Patriots might win 3 games this year. So, the Jets have a chance.
Before we let you leave, I need to ask about the Las Vegas Aces here. Lose 2 to the Minnesota Lynx, barely beat the Chicago Sky, beat them by 2 in that one, and then they lose yesterday to the Dallas Wings. Is it panic time for Las Vegas Aces fans?
Well, I don't think it's panic time in a league that doesn't have a lot of teams and has a lot of playoff spots. So they're going to make the playoffs, and they're certainly going to be feared, up at that 1, 2, and 3 slot. None of those teams are going to want to play, and I don't think the Aces are going to finish 8th, but none of those teams are going to want to play the Aces. But I just feel like the whole season has been about Becky Hammond trying to get them focused and consistent game to game, and there's a lack of focus. There's a lack of urgency. They've won 2 championships. They killed it last year. They intimidated and trash-talked the Liberty. But I think in doing so and making it so easy, they got a little comfortable, and that happens. That happens in sports. Can they flip the switch? Maybe. I think they're short on some personnel spots. So they have a shot at a championship. They're going to be in the playoff field. But, man, they got a lot to fix here these last 10 games because some of the teams are losing to. I mean, frankly, these are teams they used to smash, and they're just not beating them. And there's not even a margin that they're winning by. They're losing to teams that, formerly they would never lose to.
Again, the Aces right now in that 5 slot in the WNBA, only 2 games clear of the Phoenix Mercury as well for the 6, even though I would argue, Steve, they might actually be better off being on the other side of the bracket from the New York Liberty when the playoffs end up coming around.
Yeah. By the way, just 4 games clear of Caitlin Clark and the Fever.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk that, right?
No one, especially with the way that the Fever started the year, coming on strong. Well, Alex will have a thought on that game coming up later in the show. Of course, you can find Steve, of course, Cofield and Company's The Show on ESPN Las Vegas, 1100 AM and 100.9 FM here in Las Vegas on the tweets at Cofield and Company for The Show. Steve, pleasure as always, and, of course, at Steve Cofield on Twitter as well. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thanks, guys. Big fan. You guys do a great job. I'll see you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Steve. I love talking with him. I know you Alex, are on with Steve every once in a while on the Cofield and Company show. It's a great listen, and he's been around the block a few times here in this city, to say the very least.
And I will be on this Friday, actually, 3 to 6, live from the Circa with another co-host in Greg. And Cofield will be joining us from Houston.
Greg Salerno, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Salerno. And, of course, actually, as Alex promotes something on Friday, we will have something special for you on Friday as well. You get to see Chris and Vinny on the desk with me on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. We begin our Football Fridays. Be on the lookout for it. Of course, the Sports by the Book page where you can watch it, as always, on YouTube. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll look at some Week 1 games, including a question from the chat that Cofield actually touched on. And we'll also get Alex's WNBA plays as well as we head to the last 20 minutes or so of Sports by the Book here on the South Point studio.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style Paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White alongside. As always, if you join us on the chat at South Point, well, if you're in the South Point Studio channel, go over to the Sports by the Book channel and join the chat there. Joey B is going to be at the Colorado and North Dakota State game, Alex. So he's wondering if we either of us have an opinion on that game. I will say this. I actually played North Dakota State at 10 when it got there earlier in the week. It's no longer there. It's now 9 across the board. I don't mind it. I think this is a one-score game. And Cofield brought this up. The way Deion Sanders has acted after Big 12 Media Days, and he even brought up this matchup at Big 12 Media Days because he was asked about it by a station from Fargo. I think he realizes his team's really not that good. Other than Travis Hunter, Shador, like his high-end players are great, but he has no depth on his roster. I wouldn't be shocked if North Dakota State pulls this thing outright, but I do like the points. Even at 9, I would take the Bison still.
I do too. I made this game 4.5, so you're definitely getting an edge here, taking the points. Question, with the public coming in and maybe betting Colorado, do you think we'll see a 10 again?
I don't know what the public's going to do here because this is kind of a split game, isn't it? Like you have half the public who still loves what Deion's doing and is all about Colorado, and part of the public that has made Colorado to win the Big 12 the most bet conference future bet at BetMGM.
Right.
And then there's the other half of the public that is in the camp of, wait a second, we're seeing North Dakota State. It's not the same North Dakota State team that was winning championships year after year after year because South Dakota State is kind of taking on that ledger at the FCS level. It's still a darn good football team in North Dakota State. I think there are going to be people that realize that. I actually think this thing shuts at 9. I think that number that it's at right now is where it ends up closing. But do we touch 10 again? Maybe 9.5? Maybe we get lucky? I don't see it, though.
So maybe jump in a little bit here now and grab the best of it while we can. I'm excited. I have numerous bets I am going to make today for week 1.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Finally. Hey, look.
Baseball, sorry.
Sorry, no, you don't have to apologize. We've talked enough baseball over the season. Let's start with tomorrow, though, and don't worry, we'll have the show tomorrow morning. We'll talk about these games again and on the day of. But Minnesota and UNC, real quick, because this has been a favorite flip over the summer. Minnesota opened 1.5-point favorites, got as high as 2. Now it's North Carolina 2 behind us with a total of 50.5. I'm going to stay out for one reason and one reason only, and our good friend Sam Panayotovich talked about this on Cofield actually yesterday, of all places. See, bringing it full circle, Alex. Minnesota's dealing with injuries, and especially to key skill position players at running back and wide receiver, respectively. And I don't love this North Carolina team. I think they're pretty average. It's hard to replace a top 5 draft pick in Drake May right away. I'm looking for reasons to bet Minnesota. I just can't get there. By the way, also the total yesterday, one book touched 49.5. Never got there behind us, but it's 50.5 on this total, Alex.
Wow. And I do kind of understand that with North Carolina. I mean, 7th most in all of FBS schools in yards per game last year. But again, we don't have Drake May. It is Max Johnson now who's getting the starting role here for the Tar Heels. Nothing for me either. I'm going to stay out of it as well. You mentioned it. Minnesota dealing with some injuries. My dad did say, like, with those two, it's really just about 1.5 points, maybe 2 points to the line. But on the flip side, North Carolina, they have 4 new offensive linemen here with their new quarterback. So I don't know what we're going to get out of them either. So as of now, it is a stay away. It's a little bit of a lean to taking that points in Minnesota, keeping this game close and being at home for game 1, but nothing yet.
Coastal Carolina, Jacksonville State's the other FBS game. By the way, we will have some chatter about some FCS FBS games as well as that North Dakota State Colorado game we mentioned earlier tomorrow. There's 2 gigantic lines that I actually might bet tomorrow, but I want to see what Chris and company put out first tomorrow morning. That's a tease to stay tuned tomorrow. Alex,
how big are we talking?
We're talking 6 touchdown big, Alex White. Let's go to Jacksonville State and Coastal Carolina. So this actually moved this morning. I was 2.5. Now it's 3. 54.5. This opened behind us. Jacksonville State 4. This total's been bet down 2.5 points from 57 to 54.5. Alex, I'm curious your thoughts on this game.
All of it makes sense in my eyes here with Jacksonville State now going to 3. I jumped in. I laid the 2.5 with them yesterday, which we know that actually this line has moved from the even opening. But I just mean, of course, that key number of 3 now taking back on the points. But the under, too. Okay, Jacksonville State loves to run the ball. They ran 64% of the time last year. They are going to continue that. So I understand that. And if they get a lead here, they're going to run out the clock. So I do lean towards the under, but I like Jacksonville State even more. Head coach Rich Rod has proven himself at numerous programs, and I just think that they are the far better team in this one. Try and get that 2.5. I don't know if there's still any out there, Jeff, but I think that's a really good number here under a field goal.
See 1, and I don't think it's in this jurisdiction, unfortunately, because I wish I'd bet that yesterday with you, because I saw the 2.5 yesterday, and I'm like, surprised this got under a field goal, because this is not a particularly good Coastal Carolina team this year. I know there's a lot of people that have gotten used to Coastal Carolina being a smaller school power over the last few years. Grayson McCall's in Raleigh now. He's at NC State. This is a totally different sort of game now here in Coastal Carolina. Of course, Chadwell left. It's not what you're accustomed to. I would lean your way. If you see a 2.5 again, I'm betting it tomorrow if we happen to get it again, Alex.
Yeah, and of course, so they did open about a 5-point favorite here, Jacksonville State, and bettors love the points. They'll take it with anybody. So I did understand that move, but once we got to that 2.5, that was big overreaction.
Could have a nice middle.
Yeah.
Game land 3 or 4 if you had 5 and 2.5.
That's true.
And it would have been nice. Let's go to Saturday. You saw him actually in the thumbnail before the show. Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. You know, it's so weird. It just kind of shows how different this Clemson program is now, where they're the one program that really has avoided the transfer portal. Only 2 transfer portal additions this offseason when all these teams are in the high double digits, to say the least. Georgia, we've talked about them all offseason. Alex, you have them number 1 in your power ratings entering. I have them and Ohio State virtually tied entering the season right now. 13.5 behind us. It touched 14 earlier in the summer. Now it's 48.5 behind us on a total, which actually moved 2 days ago, Alex.
I haven't done anything yet in this one. Trying to make a case for the over, but we know both of these teams are very good defensively. On the flip side, we know how good Georgia is offensively. So I'm kind of holding out here because I do have this number higher, looking at that total and that 48.5. I'm going to look for a Georgia team total. Look to focus on them and look for an over for Georgia. Anything for you in this one?
I'd only lay it. I know it's a lot of points. I know that Clemson is still, even with how Dabo has constructed a team, they're still talented. I don't argue that. But this Georgia team, as we talked about yesterday with Chris Felica, the schedule's madness. The schedule is nuts. Road games at Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss. I know we don't like looking at the AP poll when we talk about betting perspectives, but that's 3 of the top 6. All on the road. This game's in Atlanta, which is, I know they're saying neutral site. It's a Georgia home game. Let's be real with ourselves. I would not be shocked if this is an old school SEC smashes an ACC team that we think that could be better than people that are giving more credit to the ACC team than they should going into the year. I wouldn't be shocked if this is like 38-7, 31-7. Wouldn't shock me one bit if it's like that, Alex.
So on a neutral site, I actually have Georgia just 11.5. So right there, almost enough to take Clemson. Everything you're saying, though, has definitely kept me off of that bet as well. We just saw with Florida State struggling last year. We might have Clemson a little bit too high. First game of the year in 2023, they played Duke. They lost that one 28-7. We know Georgia is going to be ready for this game. They do have a tough schedule, and this is number 1 on that list of wins that they need. So nothing for me on the side just yet either.
Let's go to Morgantown. Intriguing game, and I'm curious when Chris and Vinny are in here on Friday because this has been one of the more intriguing bet games in the summer. Penn State opened 11 in this game. It's down to 8.5. Total, funny part of this, has not moved the whole summer. 51.5 when Chris and company opened this back in July. It is 51.5 as we speak, legitimately a month later. At 11 and 10, I actually liked West Virginia. Now we've come a little too far the other way, even though this is a great litmus test for where both of these teams are. Penn State, a team that's expected to be in the playoff. You're laying a price for them to be in the playoff. And a West Virginia team that returns 21 starters. Almost unheard of in this day and age in college football.
This is where it hurts you if you wait and you're doing other sports and you don't have your prep done. I would have loved to get that 10 or 11 here with West Virginia. They're a really good team. They were a top 5 rushing team last year. Now they have Garrett Green, who we have very high hopes for him under center, and really good running back. So I think this game is going to be slowed down. We know that Penn State is going to try and run the ball, but on the flip side, West Virginia is going to try and make them use Drew Aller and just try and beat them through the air. So I think West Virginia can hang in this one. I would have liked that better number, even double digits at 10. So I haven't done anything yet, but I still would lean to taking the points here with West Virginia.
I'm going to this is the in-game game of the day for me on Saturday, and I'll keep hammering this point over the next few days. I'm very curious to see what West Virginia brings to the table, because knowing a bunch of people that are around the Big 12, with the amount of experience that they have brought back, a lot of people think they've flown under the radar a little too much this offseason. And you mentioned Garrett Green, who has the innate ability with his legs and improved as the season went along throwing the football. Penn State has not handled these type of situations well in the James Franklin era. And I know you may point to it, they only lose to Ohio State and Michigan, but you know what? This is a team that thinks they're undervalued in West Virginia, a team that believes they can win the Big 12. They get a few breaks. They play Kansas at home. They don't play Kansas State. They don't play Utah. A trip to Arlington's not out of the question. Wouldn't shock me if West Virginia pulls this thing out altogether.
So for anybody who is watching and who is curious and who doesn't do a lot of in-game betting, can you give us a couple scenarios that you would be looking for? Are you looking for Penn State to score quickly, but West Virginia looks good and you want to get the better number, better plus money?
I need to see how this game plays, because I'm willing to, I know that there's a little bit of a cop out.
It's hard to explain.
I understand why some may think it's a cop out, but if West Virginia does not seem as good as a lot of people, as the people that are high on them, I would be looking to lay Penn State at a lower number. If it's vice versa and West Virginia was correctly undervalued, like a lot of the people that like them said, we'd be looking at the Mountaineers in the game. So that's why the pinpoint game, I need to be watching it to be able to make a bet in play.
It's hard. I mean, jumping in with in-game is really just about experience and doing it, right? And then knowing what you're looking for. But I think that was a simple enough way of what people can also look for when they're watching this game.
All right, let's go to let's go to Alex, the game involving UNLV here behind in Houston. Matt Neverett, our friend on the call. Houston is as high as 3 in the market, and now we're looking at 2.5 in this one, and 54.5 the total.
Leaning towards the over here with these two teams. Donovan Smith, quarterback for Houston, struggled last year. They really had him throwing the ball, I think, too much for his skill set. Now, Willie Fritz steps in. I think he will have a more balanced offense that will fit better to Donovan Smith's strengths. On the flip side, we know UNLV's offense is really what turned their program around last year. Defense, it struggled at times. So I think we're going to see points here from both sides.
I would agree with you that would be the only lean in this game. Houston's projected to be one of the 2 worst teams in the Big 12. But Donovan Smith is a veteran quarterback. And Willie Fritz has orchestrated quick turnarounds in the past, including at Tulane, which was in worse straits than Houston was that he's inherited. It's a Power 5 job. It's difficult. I would lean to UNLV in this game if you made me take a side, but I am a little bit concerned. Cofield brought it up. I am a little bit concerned about the multiple quarterback thing. What happens if neither of them had a hot hand? Then you're in trouble.
That's true.
So I would lean to the over. I would lean to UNLV. If this game goes under, I think Houston has won the game and covered. That's the way that I would look to that. All right, Alex, we'll save USC and LSU for later in the week because that game's not till Sunday here in town. If anyone in Vegas has tickets that they're looking to get rid of, put it in the chat. I'm all ears. I'd love to go to that game here at Allegiant Stadium. But before we get out of here today, we have to go to the WNBA because this is a big card here on a Wednesday afternoon. And the marquee matchup is Indiana and Connecticut with the Sun on the road, a 4-point favorite looking for the season sweep of the Fever. Total 163.5 on this.
Let me make sure I have the updated numbers. But 4, I think you're good here taking the points with the Indiana Fever. And 4, this team has been really good at avoiding the sweep too. We've seen them play these playoff caliber teams a lot better later on throughout the season. I think this game should be more like a pick. Again, I still have my question marks about Connecticut and how good they really are. This will be a very tough test for Indiana, getting 4 points. I think they could win outright, but I didn't do anything with money line. Best play on the board, I believe, is the Chicago Sky here at home, getting 2 points against the Washington Mystics. I know the Sky has struggled, but now they are back healthy again. They won the first game, 79-70. Mystics took game 2. Now here we are, game 3, first game in Chicago. A lot to play for with this team, sitting there at the 8th seed with Atlanta right behind them. And then, of course, Washington, too, even trying to make a push here. So that's my best play on the board is the Sky +2. I do lean to the over with New York Liberty and the Los Angeles Sparks as well. Just tread lightly. New York has really been playing good defense. 5 straight unders for them. The last time that we did see an over in their game was in Los Angeles. Very high scoring game between those two. So just based off of the number and the number that we're getting, which is 165.5, I think that adjustment has been made from the bookmakers and that we're okay to go over now.
Liberty, again, 2 West Coast road trips right out of the gate. And the break here, of course, they have passed it with flying colors so far, 3-0 in those road games here on the West Coast for New York. I know you don't have a play, Alex, but I just do want to ask you about that last game on the board.
Yeah. Because
it is, to me, the most intriguing game other than that Indiana game on the board. So the second most intriguing game. Minnesota's 4 at Phoenix. Phoenix is closing in on the Aces for the 5 seed, which would be quite the shocker if that were to happen. I know you don't have a play. Am I crazy for wanting to lean to the under in this game?
Let me see what
right
my
now,
number
currently
is.
sitting at 162.5, a rare WNBA total that has not moved at all.
I lean to the home team here.
Okay.
In Phoenix. So let me just see what I made that game so I don't give you any wrong information. But no, yeah, I think this will be a tough game. Of course, Minnesota, one of my favorite under teams. Best defensive team, second slowest pace. I did make this 159, so
Okay.
slight lean to the under. But I only have the Lynx as a 2-point favorite on the road.
So how many points do you need again in a WNBA game?
I'm usually looking for 2.5.
2.5. So not quite there. Almost.
I'd rather it be 3 or 3.5, right? So if it's just 2, it's usually a definite pass.
Okay. That's a pass right now. Again, I'll lean to the under, which probably means we're getting 163 when it's all said and done, Alex. Even though we know the leans usually win.
That's right.
And the ones that you don't play, more so than anything. All right. Let's bring him in.
Yep.
Because we got to have Ryan McCormick tell us about the special version of Punchlines coming today. And Ryan, I wanted the last pick in the draft.
And
I have accomplished it.
Yeah,
I'm very happy with that.
Yep. So Jeff will be pick number 10 in our 10-man league.
Very happy about
and
that.
And Alex will be number 4 in our 10-man league.
Wow.
So
it's what you call playing to your audience on who's deciding the order.
When I saw your team name, I figured that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, clearly mission successful.
Was your name in your team name?
No.
No.
I went total comic book nerd.
Well, you'll enjoy the video that Zany put together.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Comedian Bob Zany gave us our draft order. If you would like to see his reasoning for it, you'll have to tune in at noon or about 12:35-ish is when we're going to convert from our normal episode of Punchlines with all the fun stuff with Alex today. Alex Frank and myself. 12:35-ish, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we are going to start our fantasy football special. So we're going to do our fantasy draft live in studio with all 10 members, and then featuring, comedian Bob Zany giving us our draft order. So come by at noon for fun stuff from noon to 12:30-ish, and then fantasy football, baby.
Looking forward to it. Ryan, what number did you get? Where are you in the draft?
I am pick number 8.
Okay.
So your name wasn't much better than mine.
I personally, when I do my fantasy football, I make my team name based off the players that I have.
Okay.
And so I had to come up with a generic one. And
By the way, congratulations to Caden, by the way, who was I'll save the name of the original. Yeah, I think you know what?
He won?
No, he's picking
Caden is
Ann's
3.
picking first.
Oh.
But Caden was so worried this morning when he and I were talking about it that he was going to get saddled at the end. Caden, you're picking in the top 3, my friend. There you go.
And he's still going to mess it up.
Oh, come on. Come on now. No. But be on the lookout.
Trash talk
Punchlines at
starts
noon. Official draft start will be at 12:45, but you want to tune in for the pregame show at 12:35 to get us all ready for our fantasy football league that we all hope Frank finishes last.
That we do.
Yes.
Should be a lot of fun. And don't forget, follow our new social medias, and Football Fridays are back this Friday. So make sure you set your alarm and you are following our Sports by the Book page.
Yes. Make sure you're on that YouTube page. It's important to follow all the new pages, but you really need that YouTube page because if you're commenting on the show like Joey B and Dean Hilt and our studio audience, Keith Lyle has all day, you want to be on the Sports by the Book page to have the full interaction. Twitter, TikTok at Sports by the Book, Facebook as well, and then at Sports by the Book LV for Instagram. All right, Alex, we're back tomorrow morning.
Back tomorrow.
9 in the morning. We'll have a half hour because we lead into Gone Racing on Thursday like we have been for the last few months. Sean, Caden again, congratulations. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you back there. Sean, good job as always. Keith, Ryan, hard at work getting ready for Punchlines. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you again tomorrow. Alex, good luck on your bets tonight.
What color are you wearing tomorrow?
I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you that. We're going to see if we go 3 for 3 on matching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.